What's up, reptile enthusiasts? It's Dan, the Tortoise Man, with CBReptile.com, your home for captive bred reptiles as well as reptile accessories. And today we're going to be talking about one of the best, if not the best, reptile out there, the baby bearded dragon. Bearded dragons are considered one of the best reptile pets out there because of their calm demeanor, because of their easy handleability, as well as their ease of care. So these guys are going to be super easy to care for. They're going to be super easy to train, and making sure that they're going to be human friendly is top priority. So these guys are going to be perfect for that. He's actually taking a little bit of a rest on my finger. That's how docile and tame captive bred hatchling bearded dragons can truly be. As far as the lifespan for the beautiful bearded dragon, we're looking at an average lifespan in captivity of about 6 to 10 years. Over the course of this 6 to 10 year period, these little guys will go from their 4-inch size, from about what you're seeing right here, palm of my hand, also going to grow to about 2 feet in length. If you guys can see, they're going to have a super long tail. About half their body length is just going to be tail. And that's going to stay that way for as long as they're living. So as they're growing in sizes, that tail is also going to be growing along with them. So that 2 feet in length is about 1 foot in body and about 1 foot in tail. This little guy is going to be needing an ambient temperature of about 80 degrees. 80 degrees is very attainable inside the average household temperatures. That's going to be during the daytime, and during the nighttime that temperature can drop from that 80 degree range to about 65 degrees without any issues whatsoever. So making sure that they have that heat during the daytime is going to be crucial, but at the nighttime it can dip down a little bit. We also want to make sure that these guys are going to have a basking spot. We'll talk about how we're going to set that up in just a second, but the basking spot's going to need to be 100 degrees. So let's talk a little bit about setting up the habitat for this little guy in front of us. We're going to be using a 20-gallon long. The reason that we're going for a 20-gallon long is just so they'll have a little bit more floor space. Traditionally, bearded dragons do love to climb, but the floor space can be a little bit more advantageous to them. We do have a few things over there for them to climb on, so how about we jump right into the fixings for making sure you have a perfect habitat inside of this 20-gallon long by using the items that we have in front of us available at CBReptile.com. So first things first, let's start with what we've already mentioned, the heating dome light. This is going to be making that 100-degree basking spot, and that's going to be paired up with one of our ceramic heat emitters. This is going to go right inside of here, and this can rest on top of your 20-gallon, directly over top of a perch, someplace that they can get closer to that top of their terrarium to ensure that they're going to be able to reach that light. They want to be directly underneath that light to give off about 100 degrees, so that's going to be their basking area. That basking area is going to be localized using this dome reflector as opposed to being projected all around their terrarium to ensure that they have different microenvironments at different temperatures that they can choose from to help regulate their internal body temperature. This light is going to be specifically localized over top of those spots, while the rest of your terrarium is going to be that classic ambient temperature of about 80 degrees during the daytime. This is going to be off during the nighttime, so this will only be on 12 hours. Controlling the output of your ceramic heat emitter basking spot is going to be super duper easy as long as you have one of these digital thermostats. Digital thermostats have a probe on one end, so you put that inside of your terrarium, right where that basking spot's going to be. That's going to read the temperature. Once it reaches 100 degrees, it's going to shut off that ceramic heat emitter. And when that dips below 100 degrees, it'll turn it right back on. So it's going to be ensuring that you're putting out that perfect temperature for them all day, every day. Going along with heating and lighting, we're going to be talking a little bit about this right here, our UVB Hood lamp. Hood lamps are a little bit different from the basking spot, this emitter that we're going to be using over here. This is a dome fixture, and the dome fixture is going to localize that light, that heat to that specific area. This light is what we're going to need to be projected across a wide spectrum to every point inside of that terrarium during the daytime. So during the 12 hours of the day where you're going to have this localized heat going on, you also want to make sure that you're giving them that 12 hours of sunlight. That way they're going to be getting the crucial vitamin D3 that they're going to be needing from here to process their calcium, and then from here to regulate their digestive system entirely, and to fight any type of infection that they might have, they're going to need this ceramic heat emitter basking spot. So these guys will be working in total tandem to ensure that their digestion is going to go well, that they're not going to develop diseases such as metabolic Bones disease, as well as to ensure that they're going to be processing calcium that's going to be crucial for their health. So moving on from heating and lighting, everything that we're going to have going on up top, above the head of your bearded dragon, let's talk what we're going to put below them. Right here we have ordinary paper towels. paper towels are going to be great for the base, for laying down on the bottom of your terrarium to ensure that they have a little bit of something that they can grip onto, a little bit of porous material that they can get their grip on, so not be sliding around hunting after their crickets. This will also allow you to easily dispose of this if they defecate on it, so when they are relieving themselves, you can just take the entire wad of paper towels and lay fresh ones down afterwards. People also have a need or a requirement for other types of substrates inside of other reptile terrariums. The reason we're not going for a substrate like EcoEarth, a substrate like cypress mulch, is because these guys are really bad at aiming when it comes to eating time. So when they go and they dive after their cricket, there's a chance that they're going to actually eat some of the substrate instead. That can cause them to be blocked up towards the back end. Very, very bad for your bearded dragon. So we're going to be ensuring that they're not going to have that type of impaction problems by ensuring they're not going to have any type of substrate inside of there. Repta mats are also a really good option, but there are also people out there who are saying that they are a little difficult to clean, which I agree, and then they're also going to be saying that the nails of their dragon are going to be caught inside of the wispies that are coming off of an older mat. So going for the paper towel is going to be the best bet, something that we highly recommend here at CBReptile.com for the cleanliness of it, as well as for the health and safety of your reptile. So over here we have some of our Reptivines. Reptivines are going to be really, really great additions to any reptile terrarium. The thing about bearded dragons though is they are kind of dumb, so they aren't going to necessarily know the difference between this and real greens. So if you are using some Reptivines or any type of foliage inside of your setup that's going to, replicate a little bit more of a natural habitat, you want to make sure that they're going to be particularly high, towards the top of your terrarium to ensure that your bearded dragon isn't going to have the opportunity to put it inside of his mouth. It's good for a canopy effect, and they're going to appreciate having a little bit of overhanging brush to make them feel a little bit more secure, sort of like how a hide gives it a totally enclosed effect. Having these at top is going to be an option, and definitely something that's going to create a little bit of life and vibrance inside of your setup. Just make sure that they're not going to be forgetting that that's not actually food. So if I can direct your attention that way, we have some of our branches. These are specifically over here Iguana Branches. They're going to be great for allowing that porous material on their surfaces for this little guy to dig his nails into and climb all the way up. These guys do enjoy climbing, and they also enjoy the land. So catching them on the ground or catching them up climbing up somewhere on one of these branches is going to be very, very common. So with these branches, very, very important. You can't just go outside and get branches from around your house. They're not going to be treated. They're not going to be specifically, set up for a reptile. So making sure that you get a branch from a licensed distributor is going to be absolutely ideal. Anything else could cause some contamination. It can cause health issues for your reptile. So to make sure that your bearded dragon has everything they need, make sure that you get a legit, actually treated piece of wood as opposed to finding some branches outside. It's very, very bad for them. So moving on to making sure that your reptile feels safe inside of their habitat, we have over here two hide options. Here we have a half log and here we have a rock den. The log is going to be better for a setup if you're trying to make it a little bit more tropical, a little bit more forest wood based, then you can go with this. But if you're trying to make it a little bit more desert based, as these guys are going to have their habitat naturally in a desert, you can go for one of these rocks. So they're going to be perfect for giving that aesthetic differentiation, but making sure that you have at least one of these inside of your setup is going to be absolutely ideal, as they are not always going to want to be the center of attention. So giving them a place to hide is going to be crucial, making sure that they feel secure in their day-to-day life. So moving on to one of the best factors of having yourself a bearded dragon is going to be the feeding time. These guys are super, super wild eaters, so they love it when you give them that food. They'll voraciously run after it. And the types of food that you can feed them are actually very, very diverse too. So feeding time can be particularly fun. These guys are going to love their proteins. First and foremost, we'll talk about crickets and mealworms. Crickets and mealworms are going to be perfect for them. If you see that they're having a hard time tracking them down, you actually pick the legs off of the crickets and even get smaller crickets for these smaller ages. So small crickets with their legs picked off are going to be great for these hatchlings to ensure that hunting is going to be a breeze for them. But if you guys are feeling that hunting is not going to be necessarily a huge factor, if you wanted to mix it up a little bit and if you wanted to add a little diversity to their proteins, you can give them some mealworms, and that's why we have over here a Mealworm Dish. The crickets can run about the terrarium as much as they'd like. That's going to be a hunting aspect. But if you wanted to give them straight protein that they're never going to forget, you can give them a mealworm bowl with mealworms inside of it. That's going to be excellent for them, but make them a little bit chubby. So make sure they're not going to be overeating on the mealworms, and they're going to have a nice balanced diet and definitely at least some protein. Next up are going to be some veggies. So vegetation's great for them. Two different categories. There's going to be the leafy greens and there's going to be the other types of veggies. So the leafy greens are going to consist of romaine lettuce, they're going to consist of collard greens and even mustard leaves. Something that we're not going to be feeding them is going to be iceberg lettuce. This lettuce has absolutely zero benefits to the reptile. It has a lot of hydration in it, so we give them a little bit of water, but that's basically what's all gonna give. It's not gonna give them any type of nutrients that they're gonna need to survive. So if you're feeding them that, just understand that it's not good for them and it's pretty much just a water content thing. So as opposed to iceberg, definitely go romaine. And then for those darker veggies, for a little bit extra nutrients, you can be sure to feed them collard greens and mustard greens. So those are all going to be very, very excellent sources of food for them. And on top of that, for the second type of vegetable that we're going to be giving them, we're going to be giving them different veggies, sort of like carrots and yellow squash. So you can chop them up and sprinkle them on top of their greens, and they'll absolutely dig that up too. The last form of food that we can feed these guys is going to be their sweets. So they can have some fruits in their system, just around some strawberries and some bananas will be really great. But again, those are definitely going to be more of a dessert for them. So, most of their diet's going to be coming from those veggies as well as their protein, making sure that they're getting their fruits in a very sparingly manner to ensure that they're going to be growing healthy. A lot of sugar is not good for them. Same thing with humans. A lot of sugar is just going to make us go nuts. So these guys are not going to be able to support that. Make sure you're feeding them a more balanced diet towards the leafy greens and keeping those fruits down to a minimum. 2 times a week, what you're going to want to do is take some of the aforementioned ReptioCal, sprinkle it over top of your food mix, and what that'll do is allow them to get the nutrients that they're not necessarily going to get in the rest of their food. So it's going to be an additive supplement, giving them things such as calcium that they're not going to be getting. Like we said before, the calcium is going to be metabolized specifically from the UVB Hood lamp using the vitamin D3 they're absorbing. So to get a nice synopsis of how feeding should go for these little guys, during the daytime when you give them their food, this will be on and this will be on. So they'll be getting the vitamin D3 from the UVB Hood lamp to process the calcium that they have inside of their body after eating. And then what they'll do is they'll climb to the corner of their terrarium over to one of these branches that we have set up directly underneath of our ceramic heat emitter and dome light fixture with the digital thermometer, keeping track, making sure that basking spot is exactly 100 degrees. They'll climb right up on top of that branch, get that basking, and then be able to digest the rest of the food that they just ate. So this will be a traditional regimen that you'll be seeing your bearded dragon going through on a day-to-day basis as they're eating to ensure that they are going to be giving themselves the opportunity to digest. They know exactly what they need, so giving them the opportunity, giving those microenvironments for them to choose from where they need to go is going to be ideal. That's why we have the one area that's going to have the ceramic heat emitter. We have one area that's going to have the rest of the ambient temperature around 80 degrees, and then we also have the UVB hood lamp giving off a projection. So no matter where they are throughout those microenvironments, they are going to be getting that crucial vitamin D. So last but not least, all the way over here, we have one of our Repta Ramps. Repta Ramps, and this is a small one for one of our hatchling bearded dragons, are going to be absolutely ideal for a baby dragon that might not necessarily have its wits about itself, that might not necessarily have the long bodies and legs to push themselves up out of a water dish. This Repta Ramp actually has a ramp effect, so then on the outside they can get the ramp on the way in, and on the way out they also have a ramp to get out. So it's going to ensure that they don't get stuck in their water bowl, but you can fill that water up to a limit where they can just have their entire body soaking and their head out of the water. Repta Ramps are ideal for water bowls. That's why we have a Repta Ramp for a water bowl. And then for those mealworms, we have a Mealworm Dish. Thank you guys so much for watching our informational video about a hatchling bearded dragon and their care. If you guys liked the video or you learned anything, please hit that like button. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and ring that bell icon to stay updated on everything CBReptile.com. I'm Dan the Tortoise Man, and this is one of our hatchling bearded dragons. Until next time, we'll catch you at CBReptile.com.